Rush Limbaugh is convinced that hurricanes are a left-wing conspiracy.
This has been a serious storm from the get-go, and I have perfected being able to analyze how hurricanes are reported. I've become an expert in spotting the politics in hurricane tracking and hurricane forecasting. And by that, I mean people that work at the National Hurricane Center is part of the National Weather Service, which is part of the Commerce Department, which is part of the Obama administration, which by definition has been tainted, just like the DOJ has. And we know.
We know what? What do we know? What do we know, Rush? I mean, already you're like, hurricanes, people that track the hurricanes, they're part of the Obama administration, so they have to be absolutely tainted. Okay, well, what do we know? What do we know, Rush?
Obama is telling Obama is actually telling people that global warming, that climate change is having a very profound impact in the war on Syria. The war in Syria. It's patently absurd. And there's now a story from the Pew Center for People in the Press showing that a majority of Americans do not believe the consensus of scientists predicting that there is climate change. Well, the left doesn't like that, so they keep ramming it down our throats. So in hurricane tracking and hurricane forecasting, I've been able to spot where I think they might be playing games because it's in the interests of the left to have destructive hurricanes, because then they can blame it on climate change, which they can desperately continue try to sell them.
It's in the interest of the left to have hurricanes. What? No. Yeah, believe me. It's from the Pew Center. The Pew Center. People aren't buying this climate change thing. Oh, really? Well, people, look, their opinions on it don't matter because we have facts. 97% of scientists believe, and can prove that climate change is happening and it is man-made. And it's contributing to increased storm activity. Now, the next part of this clip that I want to play is where, look, Limbaugh continues to get this whole thing about climate change wrong.
Problem for them is, after Hurricane Katrina, remember, Al Gore goes out there and all these people start saying this is just the beginning. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to have these kind of hurricanes every year, numerous hurricanes like that, and they're going to be more destructive than Katrina. And it's all because we've got climate change. And then what happened? We had 11 years of no hurricanes. 11 straight years, no major hurricanes striking land in the United States, which just bores a hole right through the whole climate change argument.
Okay, no major hurricanes. No major hurricanes. Okay, well, look, here's the thing, right? Yes, he's right that there were no giant storms that were major, okay? Category 3 or greater at the time of landfall. Right. However, according to Weather Channel meteorologist Jonathan Erdman, you don't have to have a Category 5 to do damage. The fact is, quote, you don't need a Category 3 plus hurricane to produce major impacts, including storm surge, flooding, rainfall, flooding, and damaging winds, among others. Erdman listed 10 extremely damaging storms during the supposed hurricane drought that Limbaugh is trying to say, that disproves climate change. It pours a hole right into the theory of climate change. See, we didn't have these major storms. No, actually, we did have incredibly damaging storms. Yes, they weren't Category 3 or higher. That doesn't mean that it doesn't create damage. In fact, Hurricanes Sandy, Irene, and Ike are just 3 of the examples that have happened in the last 10 years that have been incredibly damaging. So, and look, there was also a study published this year in the Bulletin of American Meteorological Society that found that this supposed drought in hurricane activity is actually just more of a data artifact than it is proof that climate change is a hoax. And then did you get what he said about Al Gore? Al Gore, he was out there talking about how climate change, it's going to get worse and we're going to have more storms. Well, we did have a lot of damaging storms. And the other thing is that Al Gore didn't exactly say that there were going to be more hurricanes every year. That's not something that he said. He didn't promise that. Nor did he blame the storms on climate change itself. There are a lot of factors that go into weather, that go into storms. Climate change is one factor of many, but it's a significant factor, and it's a factor that we can actually contribute to. And see, that's the problem. They don't understand. Like, yes, we can contribute to it. We can change the climate, and we have done so. We've entered a new epoch, the Anthropocene. Thanks to the efforts of humanity in changing our world. We've made a major impact on this planet. I mean, just look at the skylines in some of the cities, right? That's a pretty big impact. But we've also made these changes in our atmosphere by putting a lot of carbon. And look, a lot of this carbon that we've put out over the last couple hundred years has went into the ocean. The ocean is almost near capacity when it comes to the amount of carbon that it's absorbed. It's actually saved us from some of the worst effects of climate change that we would have normally seen had we not had the ocean that was absorbing all this carbon. Now it's almost full. Rush Limbaugh, and look, he thinks he's some sort of expert. No, leave that to the scientists, okay? Leave that to the scientists. They actually know what they're talking about. This isn't some global conspiracy. And even if it was, to what gain? What gain? Pushing more renewable energy. Well, we're going to run out of oil and coal and natural gas eventually, right? You might want to have something to back it up. You might want to have something to replace it with. And then the other thing is, well, it doesn't produce carbon. It doesn't produce a lot of the waste that our current fossil fuel system does, which actually helps, alternative energy. Using that creates no pollution. It helps keep our air and our water clean. What's so bad about that? It creates new jobs in solar manufacturing, windmill manufacturing. I mean, it makes no sense. Calling this climate change a giant conspiracy makes absolutely no sense. And yet they say we're fear-mongering about this. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And calling it a conspiracy and then pointing out how you're a supposed expert using an artifact in the data, that's not journalism, dude. We know that Rush Limbaugh is not a journalist. We know he's not interested at all in facts and in data, unless he can try to manipulate that to do the bidding of people who, look, are his benefactors, his handlers, people he aligns with. And that's the fossil fuel industry that right now is making billions and billions of dollars off of extracting oil from the ground, burning carbon or burning fuels to put carbon into the atmosphere so they can make an extra buck. That's what it's all about, man. This whole thing is about money. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.